Making a video. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Making a video. Um, sort of short on the subject, but I've been watching movies, so I just talk about two movies and thoughts provoked by the pointlessness of it all, and how this making of a life thing, it's just so arbitrary. Culture could be defined so many different ways. What we live for and how we live could be conformed. We could be just a very different style of social bug in terms of how we're, what kind of nest we live in, what kind of hive we function in, and we gravitated to this. Just the forces of history led us in this direction, got us in this direction. Where first we had this monarchy thing, we had the noble bullshit kind of life, the owners and the serfs, and then we played a little while with this idea of a broader social interest, and then somehow sliding back, into another, back to owners and, everything else. You might as well be an animal if you're not an owner, pretty much. You might as well be herded up and humanely slaughtered versus, the abuse you'll be subjected to, by the system. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. Maybe that's a better subject. But anyway, I get to the. So I saw two movies just because people said they were worth watching. Not that anybody said The Road was worth watching, but Dark City. People did suggest I see it, and it's a piece of crap. Didn't make any sense at all. A million pot flaws, and it was just too dark and too boring. And you're saying, what is this? Silly. It's another one of these silly alien movies. Silly aliens. Just totally silly. Don't make any sense at all. Psychotic even. Just what is this? Why am I? Why? This is just so contrived. So just a nonsensical conflict, just for the purpose to make a silly movie. And the ending sucked, and the whole thing sucked, and it just wasn't anything to. It just wasn't anything. It was nothing to see here. You're curious, in the first 20 minutes as it's rolling out, what's going on, but it just loses. Once you know it's just silly. Then it's just kind of tedious. And then The Road is just, I don't know, it's just pointless, altogether pointless. It's like The Day After or something. It's a movie you should make it's about a 20-minute movie. They just drag it out to whatever it was, 2 hours or an hour and a half, and it's just life is bleak when the world dies. People go crazy. And everything sucks. And so let's just watch the humans squirm through the movie, through the impossible circumstances, blah 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 blah. And okay, fine. What's the point? I don't get it. It just doesn't. It's not a movie, and especially when you do it in dark, quiet vision, where you can't see or hear anything. What's the point? It just doesn't mean anything in that made that way. It just doesn't have any reality to it. It's too surreal rather than real. So, but anyway, just play with the idea that humans will live through anything. They'll endure anything. no matter how bad it gets, they'll struggle to survive. And we should just concede that fundamental nature. That has nothing to do with whether life is rationally being lived, is it's not rationally lived. It's lived by animals with a, fear, driven by fear. And, they're not going to voluntarily give up on the aliveness to go to the uncertain deadness. Even though the deadness is pretty certain, it's not a bad thing. It's still scary to give up your cards in the living game. But you keep thinking something's going to happen. You keep sensing that there's more to your story, that your story hasn't been properly finished. That you're left with an unending, movie that it doesn't have an ending yet. You can't end the movie yet because you haven't written an ending, a good enough one. It needs a better ending. So you're not going to let it go, until you resolve that problem of it lacking the continuity of a good ending. Don't step on that. Yeah. So, where else do we go? So that's the nature of the beast, is to just keep crawling through it. Then this other part, like the dark, so that's sort of what the road might teach you, might give you a taste of, is just how depraved, our lust for life is. That we will torture ourselves and others, to just eke through it, survive it, take another breath. And then the dark city sort of thing just kind of demonstrates it, or kind of gives you, enables you to expand on that idea of what the world would be if you created it. But they didn't go that far. They had the opportunity at the end of the movie, and they really didn't go anywhere with that idea of what would you do if the world was yours to remake. How would you remake it? But this whole nature of human violence, the taking, the dark side of the human nature, it is sort of a reoccurring theme, that not only is our life like self-justifying, but it's like humanity creates its own villain. It's not like we're not even fighting with nature anymore. We're not fighting with the environment. We're fighting our own kind, who wish to enslave us to their entertainment. So kind of Dark City has that element of, some abusive class who just manipulate everybody to the service of their entertainment, their purpose. Like aliens. They are aliens stealing us and stealing our identity to achieve their ends, and not at all concerned with the welfare of the mice they are victimizing to do it. And there's I don't know what you say about that, but there's sort of a correlate to that in human society, where these elitists decide to play with the human race like a toy and see how much they can profit off of it. How much profit they can make by shaking it up and pushing it and prodding it, tormenting it, manipulating it. And so it's like we're not fighting, nature. we're fighting a monster of our own creation, our own tolerance, something we're accepting in ourselves that should be unacceptable. Yeah, pretty much. So what else? There should be another theme out of all of this. I guess you go back to the thing about, how you remake it, and the easiest thing to fix in us is the obsession, is the perception of purpose, and just take out that one element of, making another victim, making a baby. I guess the only thing good about The Road is that it does have a scene in there where, the woman's pretty hostile to the idea that she's going to have to give birth to a child in a bleak world. And, she'd rather be done with it. Rather not. Sorry, this weather's not doing me any good. Yeah. Whatever. I won't complain. I probably will before the end of the video. Seems my style. Alright, well, I guess there's no point in trying to create more out of this video. Just this general subject, like I said, that it is all, the desire set we each have, what role we're playing. I guess that's what, the value of Dark City 2 is this idea of, being switched out. You could we're kind of, interchangeable. What it would be like if you could actually do that and see life from everybody else's perspective and retain a memory of it, which might be of real value. If you could actually see what other people are living for, the passion, what drives them, and then you might get some, once you had a bit of a reservoir of that mush, you might have some perspective on the fact that it's all very arbitrary. What you have a passion for, food or some other vice, some other goal, ambiguously stated, ambition, definition of sufficient accomplishment. But yeah, it's what do you want to say about that? Yeah, I think you'd have an appreciation of just how these aren't sacred passions, that they're just passion. They're just obsessive, needful, wantful attractions. You need to be part of a better story, so you're going to keep trying to force your life into one. Or you need, period. Whether it's short term or long term, whether you're living in the moment, or you're living for some day where you'll be able to say, I accomplished my goal. It is just erroneously formed out of garbage passions of biology and ego, and that's all there really is. And there's just nothing to I'm not, there's this argument that you can't take the mystery out of life, but you can. It's like doctors have to do it in a way, right? I mean, you could argue that a medical doctor, he probably does taint the the biological passion a bit by having dissected, breasts or something, having, shoved probes up all the body parts and taken some of the magic out of lovemaking, because, he has he's seeing too much. He's too conscious of too much of it. But clearly also our imagination is quite capable of separating us from our knowledge, of allowing us to know when it's appropriate to turn the brain all the way on. And so maybe it's not such a big problem. And I guess that seems like a small sacrifice to make, is that you would give the truth the dignity of allowing it to be the truth. And yes, you could still live in your fantasies, you can still live in your passion, but there's a time when you're putting on your serious human hat and you say, yeah, I'm going to be a serious person. I'm not going to be just a chaser, and you're going to demand a little better from yourself, from your existence, than to just act out your role as a bug. And I don't think that's too much to ask. Yeah, I don't. So I don't think you have to destroy the playability of your life in terms of from the personal perspective, to broaden your perspective and understand what kind of bigger picture game you're playing, and see the components of the game, see the skeleton, see its bone structure, see how it functions. It doesn't have to be obnoxious, those truths, to your capacity to get something out of the game you're playing. It doesn't have to be. I understand why people would see there to be some threat there, because there is some threat. But there's right and wrong. And it's wrong to live a lie. So I think I know that one for a certainty. But anyway, now it's enough of a video. Until the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot.